I would like to be the best paycheck president in American history. Notice how big that gap is. There isn't enough ad money in the world to convince the American people that food stamps are good enough. There's not a neighborhood in America where if you go door to door and you say to parents, would you rather your children earned a paycheck or were given food stamps, you wouldn't have a vast majority say, I'd rather them earn a paycheck. So a party that's really serious about this and that has the courage to go out and campaign everywhere could have an enormous effect by saying to people, we want to develop a program. Now, as I said a minute ago, when I was Speaker, our program led unemployment to drop to 4.2%, and 11 million new jobs were created. Compare that with the Obama administration. So we're actually in a position where we can campaign on jobs and economic growth with enormous effect. But it goes deeper than that. The president doesn't understand the rhythm of being president. He goes to Brazil, having blocked American oil and gas offshore. And he says to the Brazilians, I am really proud that you have developed your oil field in the Atlantic. And then he says, and I'm glad that we could guarantee $2 billion in equipment for you, much of it going to a George Soros company. And then he says the most extraordinary thing. I want America to be your best customer. I want you to think about this for a second. We do not hire presidents of the United States to go around the world as a foreign purchasing agent. We hire presidents to go around the world as salesmen for American goods and services. Take that one simple example. The president wants to be the chief salesman of Brazilian oil. I'd like to be the chief salesman of American goods and services. Pretty big gap. And I'll tell you, the Obama model, all they ought to do is borrow from the Chinese to pay the Brazilians, doesn't work. The same thing, by the way, for reasons I don't understand, the Air Force just picked a Brazilian company to build a trainer for Afghanistan instead of an American company based in Kansas. And candidly, for me, it's a little hard to understand why we would be picking a foreign company to build a plane that we're going to pay for instead of picking an American company to build a plane using American labor in the United States. But it's part of the same pattern. So let me carry a step further in terms of how big the gap is. The president has an opportunity to create something between 20 and 50,000 jobs with a project called the XL Keystone Pipeline. This will go from central Canada to Houston. It's the logical route. There's no mountains. We know how to build pipelines. We've been building them for over 100 years. The president, however, has a problem. The construction unions love the idea because it'll be their jobs. The environmental extremists in San Francisco hate the idea because they hate Canadian oil. So the president, who doesn't want to make the unions mad, and he doesn't want to make the environmentalists mad, tried to say, why don't we decide after the election? Now, I tell people all the time, it's one thing if the White House can't play chess. It's another thing if it can't play checkers. But if it can't play tic-tac-toe, and let me explain what I mean. This is not just a cute line. It apparently did not occur to the White House that Prime Minister Harper of Canada, who is a conservative and pro-American, has an alternative. He doesn't have to wait around for American politicians to get done being timid. He can simply talk with the Chinese, get them to finance it, put the pipeline straight west across the Rockies, have it end up in Vancouver. Now what does that do? It costs the United States between 20 and 50,000 construction jobs. It cost us the payment to manage the pipeline for the next 30 to 50 years. It cost us processing the oil at Houston, which is the largest petrochemical center in the world. And it cost us all the money that the ports of Houston and Galveston would make out of shipping the oil. This is a 30 to 50 year loss. Because you have a president who can't figure out that he's not the only person in the world who has the ability to maneuver, and that you got to remember the other guy has choices too. And this goes on every day at the White House. I mean, it's really amazing how amateurish and how lacking in foresight this administration is. Now, despite all that, let me tell you how fast I think things will turn around. I believe late on election night, when it becomes clear that President Obama is going back to Chicago, that literally that night, you will see the economy start to turn around. Because people who have been just huddled waiting will suddenly say, oh, I see hope coming again. I see an opportunity coming again. I can begin to see a future where I'm not frightened. And it will happen, I think, that rapidly. And we have a chance to make it happen that rapidly. First of all, by having a very clear program. Program for reforming the Federal Reserve, firing Bernanke, and getting back to a sound dollar. That's part one. Part two, taxes. Zero capital gains tax so that everybody in the world wants to send the money to the U.S. so we get hundreds of billions of dollars.